Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and Singapore has fired a massive broadside at the United Kingdom. And this comes in a little bit weird, it's come out of nowhere. And this is Shanmugan, basically Singapore's law minister and home affairs minister. And he on his Instagram, he posted a rant, or rather a rebuttal against the Economist. So let's read what he says and to taste this emotional damage on the Ukraine the British tears, the British tears. So anyway, he's very triggered. He said that the economists cannot resist sneering at Singapore, and he said that this is lodged deep in the unconscious of the British commentariat class, because they can't stand that the people that they're accustomed to lecturing are now better than they are across the entire board. So take governance. So he said that the DPM Lawrence Wong will be the fourth prime minister. The next prime minister, he will become the prime minister in a month's time, and he will be taking over Lee Hsien Loong. Meanwhile, in the United Kingdom, Rishi Sunak is their fourth prime minister in less than 5 years. And Boris Johnson was PM. He accepted a holiday worth £15,000 and then £50,000 for renovation of his residence from donors. In Singapore, this is actually considered corruption. Any politicians that accept such donations is going to be charged for corruption in Singapore. This is true. I can corroborate that because I'm Singaporean. And on the economy, Singapore started as a British colony with the GDP of per capita of $500. Now is $80,000 per year. So according to the recent Forbes report, Singapore have the fifth highest GDP per capita in the world by PPP, purchasing power parity terms, well ahead of United Kingdom. So this is just page one. This is actually multi-page. There's no chills, coming from Shanmugan, and this is literally directed at United Kingdom, and it's very weird. It's really out of nowhere, and we will go to the article. I will continue to read this, but we'll later go to the article and see what was the trigger. It seems really a bit out of norm. Anyway, and he said that the media, Economist refers to docile press, and but no, he claims that the economists prefer a situation like in the UK where one person can control major media outlets and politicians pay court to this person who actually owns all the media outlet, and the media owners can influence who get elected, who becomes prime minister. The same situation is in Australia. So suddenly Australia also get fired upon, described by a former Australian prime minister as a cancer on democracy. So Australia, caught in the crossfire over here. And then in the provision of social services, Singapore provided the people of all classes and races far better healthcare, housing, and education. In public safety, law and order situation in London is well documented. Across England and Wales, investigation into more than 330,000 vehicle crimes, including theft and break-in, or 85% of all cases reported were closed without any suspect caught. In more than 100 neighborhoods, 0% of the reported car theft was solved. A situation like this is unthinkable and unacceptable in Singapore, which is ranked as the safest country in the world since 2015. 95% of the adults in Singapore feel safe walking alone at night, and this is actually true. As in, it's really unacceptable in Singapore. For any kind of this kind of crime level, is totally unacceptable in Singapore. Singaporeans are very sensitive, to this kind of crimes, and we will rant a lot, and we will give a lot of problems to the government if they are unable to solve certain crimes. So, furthermore, or in social cohesion, in the United Kingdom, a Tory party donor recently said of a black MP, looking at her makes him want to hate all black women. And his party said all should just move on from the comments, and that's it. So he's basically saying that Tory party did not even reprimand this donor or something. They basically defended the donor because he's a donor, you see. So in Singapore, a person who makes such a comment is likely to be charged in court, which is true because racism or this kind of hate speech, it's not really hate speech, but is an attempt to create racial disharmony is actually a crime, and they can be charged by the government because we want racial harmony. No, so what price your sneer? So basically, he's referring to this article by The Economist, talking about Lawrence Wong is the 4th Prime Minister in Singapore's history. Of course, this title already made it very clear it's only the 4th. So this is the article. I actually registered the account just so that I can read. And this actually is a bit, the article, it feels a bit tame. I personally, I read it. I don't read it as offensively as Shanmugan has felt it to be. So I say he's the Minister of Law and he's also the Minister of Home Affairs. Basically, he is in charge of the law as well as the police force. So as well as civil defense. So he's probably going to step down soon, coming to the next election. And he really got very triggered by this article, which is published on the 18th of April, just around 1 to 2 days ago. So we can go through this article as well and see, how triggered is my law minister. So basically, he said that in the 59 years history, Singapore only have 3 leaders, and he's going to get a 4th when the Prime Minister of 20 years, Lee Hsien Loong, who is 72, and whose father is Lee Kuan Yew, who ruled with iron fist of 31 years, will resign. So basically, Lawrence Wong is currently the Finance Minister. He'll be sworn in. And so he's younger by 20 years. So, somehow this statement seems to be a bit weird. Singapore now faces the prospect of a future without a Lee at the helm, which is like, it was never really a problem in Singaporeans' eyes. Like, and honestly, if we really want a Lee on the top, Lee Hsien Loong's son is actually pretty good. And he's not joining politics as he's currently working as a civil servant. So, yeah. Anyway, this marks the ruling party passing of the baton from the 3rd to the 4th generation and blah, 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 blah. So, he said, and somehow this article seems to suggest that the PAP make sure never to lose an election and make sure that, and he said that this Lawrence Wong will certainly not lose his. And there's a guarantee of the majority to make the leaders of other country weep, including United Kingdom, which is now they're crying. And then, yet never think that the election do not matter to the PAP. So, which is kind of a very awkward paragraph, I felt. It's like, yeah, we don't change Prime Minister very often because the ruling party is very good. And why vote out a party that is good? Yeah, so then there's this claim Singaporeans do not judge the PAP merely on traditional emphasis of delivering economic growth and keeping Singapore safe. This is what they think. And then they say the younger generations are less respectful of hierarchy, want fairness in terms of who shares in growth, and think that countries sitting on such a gargantuan financial reserve should more generously support welfare. Honestly, this is not true. I do not know of a single young Singaporean that think this way. This is bullshit. No, this is political interference. I guess this is why Shanmugan was triggered. So anyway, they also want politics to be more participatory rather than heavily directed from the top, which is also nonsensical. Young people don't really care about politics, and the reality is that if you join the politics, you will participate. The reality is they don't. Life is good. Why go into politics? So at stake for Wong is not his formal mandate, but rather moral legitimacy, which is also bullshit. No such thing. So anyway, the party likes to leave little to chance, which is true. And before change comes continuity. So this DPM Wong downplay expectation of major cabinet reshuffle before elections, which I actually already reported in my previous video on Singapore. If you didn't watch it, you should watch it. I talk about Lawrence Wong's top 3 priorities as the Prime Minister for Singapore, and or what I think he should focus on. So Lee Hsien Loong will be staying as a senior minister, which I also have reported, and so Shanmugan, which will stay in post. Basically, they call him by name. I think that's why he got triggered. So yeah, so she says Shanmugan takes a bleak view of threats to Singapore. They range from extremism spilling over from majority Muslim Malaysia, Indonesia to disinformation by foreign states to great power rivalry as well as trade wrenching forces to Singapore's open economy. So because that is his job. So because he's in charge of law and also in charge of home affairs, he's in charge of dealing with internal security, which is also why he is the one that is talking a lot about all these things, because he's talking about the threats that Singapore is currently facing, and this is his job as the home affairs minister to talk about this. He have the power to lock people up for internal security issues, for example, terrorists, and extremists, this kind of thing. So he said that Lawrence Wong described the rapidly changing environment requires fresh approach and break new grounds. I didn't hear this personally. I don't know, but I hope that he does break new grounds and try new things and get better leaders to join his team. So basically, some things his agenda will be thwarted by a shortage of political capital, which I don't think so. Not really. But he is not the 4G first choice, which is true. Heng Swee Keat, currently the economy minister, was the anointed one until he suddenly withdrew in 2021. Even Heng Swee Keat is not the first choice. I'm not sure if the economists actually realized that. He's actually was like the fifth choice, I guess. So, fourth or fifth choice. He was never that high choice. So, and he have to withdraw because he screwed up too much ever since he was anointed as the next successor. So he screwed up way too many times to the point where Lee Hsien Loong have no choice but to pull him down and then try to find a new leader. So that's what happened. So blah blah blah. So he's relatively unknown among Singaporeans, maybe, but not anymore. So being the compromise candidate is not a bad thing. And then he talked about charismatic authority and talk about collective leadership, which is true. Wong is probably more of a collective leader. And so then the writer talked about Lawrence Wong initiated the Forward Singapore thingy, and then he's more mild-mannered, which is true, and more relatable to Singaporeans and most of the governing elites, maybe. Yeah, so basically this election will be his key test. PAP will win thanks to formidable organization, relentless attack on the opposition. Honestly, the relentless attack on the opposition only happens because opposition let the People's Action Party, the PAP, attack. If they screw things up, of course they get attacked. If they say something stupid, of course they get attacked. So attacks doesn't mean that is out of the blue. If you're good, you're good. Docile press. Honestly, it's not a docile press. It's like you're expecting the BBC to say something bad about the British government. Dumb. And a record of good governance, of course, is a good thing. And not always subliminal message that about this survival and death of Singapore are synonymous, which is 100% entirely true. If there's no PAP right now, who is going to be the next government? There is no other parties that is good enough with enough talents and good people to actually run Singapore. So technically, Singapore and the People's Action Party is linked together. Is really interconnected. As much as people who like to support the opposition parties, this is true. Unless the opposition party can prove otherwise, but so far, no, the opposition parties has been very disappointing, to say the least. So if the opposition party can get more than 10 of the 87 elected seats, the change candidate will start off on the back foot, which is probably unlikely. As far as I can tell, and the sentiment, my personal opinion, I think the next election will be a bloodbath for the opposition. So that's what I think. So I think personally, I think the article is not that offensive. There is a lot of assumptions, which is clearly, a bit on the edge of interference, political interference into Singapore's internal affairs, which Singapore don't like. Like Singapore don't like foreigners to come into to stir shit about Singapore politics, because there is no reason to do that. Singapore is doing very well in literally every single field, which is probably what Shanmugan's point is. Singapore is doing so well, there's zero reasons to criticize anything. So, so which is why, basically Shanmugan fired a broadside, and somehow is to criticize the United Kingdom, and the whole United Kingdom is just getting burned entirely by Shanmugan. And I'm not sure this. I personally am not sure how this will affect the relationship between Singapore and United Kingdom. I'm not sure if the ambassador of Singapore will be caught to talk to the foreign ministry in the United Kingdom, to ask what the hell is our law minister talking about. And although everything that he says is true, so but it doesn't matter. United Kingdom is actually going down, is weakening, and is getting less and less relevant in geopolitics. I think this broadside from Shanmugan is definitely calculated, and is probably also it may be a connection to a larger global trend to move away from the West, and taking a more neutral stance, a less pro-West stance. And I think this is probably one of the wider trend. Again, the West, like for this case, the Economist probably representing the United Kingdom, is very insensitive, because the West, the European countries, United States, largely speaking, has lost its moral authority to tell people what is good and what is bad, because their own country is now all screwed up. So it's really hard, really hard for countries in Asia and global South to really listen and think that you're right. Especially not for Singapore. Singapore is one of the most well-governed country in the world, so it makes zero sense to be criticized. And when it's criticized, of course, we feel very insulted, because UK, from this reply from Shanmugan, seems like we have very little respect for United Kingdom right now. The way how he described United Kingdom was like zero respect. Like this is basically almost like something that it will come out from Russia. It doesn't feel like it come out from like Medvedev, the former president of Russia. Like it doesn't feel like something that comes from Singapore. So yeah, this is very fascinating. Which when I first read this just now, I was like, what? I was like, what the hell? So anyway, just to advertise, Defense Politics Asia have an Instagram account. In case you do not know, there's 1,000 followers right now. You can search Defense Politics. You'll be able to find DPA. And there's some things I don't really post very often, but you can come and see me and history legends. So anyway, thank you for watching. Hope this thing makes you happy, or maybe you think you'll find it very interesting. There is definitely some implications in terms of geopolitics for sure. I'm very sure we're gonna see some pushback from the United Kingdom. They're gonna slap us back for sure. It's gonna be so tasty. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next update.